Hello, I'm Ben Watts. I'm a photographer. I'm here on a Sports Illustrated assignment. I'm very excited about that. There's so many standout moments in the sort of lengthy career I've had with Sports Illustrated. There's just so many to mention, you know. We've been to some truly incredible places, and for that I'm incredibly thankful, because they're perhaps places that I would never have visited. Malta was an incredible place. It was an international trip we did, and it was an introduction to a country that I knew, just an island steeped in so much history. It was truly an incredible place. It's just got so much aspect. There's just traveling around the US. Every state has its own feel. It's like its own country, you know. So I've been to some pretty incredible spots with the Sports Illustrated team. Well, the process going into a big shoot is, first of all, you have to, I think it's important to come prepared. And that's any shoot, you know. You do it for yourself. First and foremost, you do it for yourself. Someone with a plan is a good leader. And often each shot begins with, like MJ will ask, well, what's your inspiration for this shot? So in order for you to answer that question sort of immediately and sort of, you know, with confidence, you might want to have had a little pre-pro, you know, before. Like, having said that, you never want to eliminate or discount the element of spontaneity. We need to get the pictures one way or another, and that's absolutely going to happen. I've got 100% confidence that at the end of the day, will have at least 15 shots in the bag. I got it. I got this.
Now I got wrap up.
Yeah, baby. I have a thread of continuity that runs through my pictures, and I call it the happy picture, because my pictures are colourful. Even if they're black and white, they're colourful, you know, because the energy that's in the image is always optimistic, whether it's the vibrancy of the colour or the smile on the model. Making people feel comfortable is very important. And making people feel comfortable because you sincerely want them to feel comfortable, not just because you need something from them at that moment. And in what I do, it's extremely important. I always say with photography, it's not a spectator sport. Occasionally I'll ask people to dance or sing. If the crew's going to be there, then they've got to dance and sing too, you know? And I do as well. I definitely took a lot of risks, and definitely well thought out risks. I was working very well in Australia, and I could have stayed there, and I sort of felt like now, you know, like a ripe piece of fruit. You gotta pick yourself and get to it and try. I made the move to New York, and I basically had to start all over again. I was really into hip-hop music. I've always been into sort of fashion cults, and a lot of fashion cults they're born out of the music. I thought, you know what, I want to go to New York, and I want to go to where this is from, you know, and take pictures of these artists. And the magazine I aspired to work for was Vibe magazine, and I'd seen it in Australia, and I'd seen the covers that Albert Watson had shot with Naughty by Nature, and I just looked at this magazine and I thought, you know, this, to me, this is the be-all and end-all. If I could work for this magazine, that would be the pinnacle. You know, I would have reached any of my aspirations I could ever imagine. And so when I came to New York, I began sort of politely but aggressively calling Vibe magazine and leaving about 2 messages a day. I think I might have did it 3 days a week. And I eventually got in touch with George Pitts, who was a photo editor, and he told me that I'd been calling and leaving a lot of messages. And I said, yeah, I had, and I wouldn't waste his time if I didn't think I had something. He said, come in at 3 o'clock on Thursday. I remember it so vividly. And he actually looked at my pictures and said, you know what? I'm glad you came in to see me and you were persistent. And that to me was a big thing. And that's something that sits with me for anyone that comes to me looking for advice or a job for that matter. That if they show that amount of conviction, you know, you should definitely respect it, you know. And I got to work with all these hip hop artists, and I got to sort of go to really cool places, and it was definitely a great sort of beginning to introduction to me to New York. The clothing thing, yeah, I thought, you know what, we're all wearing so much. I love Nike, I love Adidas, I love sort of some of the high-end fashion stuff. Most of all, I like to wear the stuff that I make because it's clothing that we need to wear, and it says something about me, and it visually reminds people. They can visually identify it, and it leaves them with a message. And to me, that's important. And you know, I thought about, you know, wear enough clothes of other brands. Why should I make myself a walking billboard for someone else when I can do it for myself? I thought, you know what, that's a start. You know, live brick by brick, that's a start. Even if nobody cares or nobody notices, at least doing it, if I do it that often, enough people will notice, and people are starting to notice. And I like to wear it, and I think it's important to have an identity. I don't have my socks on, I wish I did, because socks are an important thing. Everybody loves a good pair of comfortable socks, and your feet are the first things that have, outside of the shoe, are the first things that have contact with the earth. So it's important to have a good pair of clean, comfortable socks. And if you can say it with a sock, that's everything, I'd say. And one day there won't be a foot in America that doesn't walk in one of my socks. Balance and family life, work, professional life, absolutely, like, massive issue for everybody, regardless of profession. And I, again, try my best, but am I the best parent? I'm not a bad parent, but you know, sometimes perhaps I'm not the best. I do travel a lot. Your time gets broken down if you feel you're on a path and ambitious and want to stay relevant or be successful, and it comes with a cost, and sometimes that can subtract you away from your family life. And absolutely, my family has a great time. They come on jobs, we get to travel the world. I do have one, so I'm very grateful of that, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I'm inspired by so many different things, and like, as you, going back to the bit of having, you know, I've got a few years up in the game, so to speak, so you look for inspiration in so many different ways. Catching the subway is inspirational, you know, walking the streets, going for a long walk. It's expressions on people's faces, how shop windows are put together, like what, you walk through Times Square, that's inspiring, you know, just seeing all that, how brands now visually communicate in comparison to when I sort of came there in the 90s. You can get inspiration from anywhere just by keeping your eyes open. Absolutely, it's changed, and you know what? For a good reason. There's lots of good things. It's like things have changed very rapidly in the last sort of 5 years, and when things change, you have to change, or you remain the same. And if you remain the same, then the same just doesn't work anymore. You have to remain passionate, but you have to move with the times to stay contemporary. Now it's important. Every day is important for me to do a good job, because you're only, in this world right now, you're remembered for your worst photo, not your best, you know, and that's what inspires me, because I never want to take a bad photo, and undoubtedly I have, but as long as I've made the best out of what I could do that day, or what I, you know, put the effort in, then that's good enough for me. I'm very passionate about what I do, and some, you know, how people interpret it is up to them.